Good morning, class 9 students. I welcome you all on this online platform of Jagrati classes. We were doing our chapter 6 of class 9th, that is tissues, and we have dealt with all types of plant tissues, that is all types of tissues which are found in plants. And in the last class, we also discussed one more topic, that was epidermis. Okay, so what was epidermis? Epidermis was the outermost or external covering found in plants. And this epidermis I classified into three categories or groups. These were the leaf epidermis, the epidermis of the root, and epidermis of stem. So now one important point regarding this leaf epidermis is what? We saw different types of epidermis, and one we saw, which was our first category of group, which was leaf epidermis. We saw that leaf epidermis has many minute holes or pores which are called stomata. We also saw what was the structure of stomata. Stomata is surrounded by two guard cells. It has a stomatal pore inside it. And then one more important feature, that leaf epidermis contains a waxy coating called cuticle. So we can say that leaf epidermis has presence of cuticle. And this question is frequently asked in exams. What do you mean by cuticle? So cuticle is a waxy coating, or you can say a wax-like layer which is present outside your leaf epidermis, which is present outside the epidermis or epidermal layer of leaf. Okay, so this cuticle is a waxy coating which is present on the outer side or outer layer of the leaf. Then the function of cuticle, this cuticle is generally seen in xerophytes. Do you know, what do you understand by the term xerophytes? Xerophytes are the plants which are found in desert habitat, or you can say in dry regions. So this cuticle is generally observed to be present in xerophytic plant because the function of this cuticle is to prevent the loss of water, or you can say this cuticle prevents transpiration. Because as we all know, in deserts or in dry conditions, water is available in a very limited quantity or very small quantity. So because if these plants which get minimum amount of water, if they will show transpiration in excess amount, then they will not able to survive in that harsh condition. So cuticle prevents, you can write, it actually prevents excess transpiration, that is high amount of transpiration it prevents. So this was a role of cuticle, and this cuticle is your waxy coating which is present outside the epidermal cells, and these are generally found in xerophytes. It prevents excess transpiration, that you can say that it prevents loss of water from the leaf of the plant in the form of vapors. Now one more term which we observe in stem epidermis. We read tomorrow stem epidermis, and then we said that when the young stem converts into a mature plant, then outside epidermal cells, a layer of secondary meristematic tissues get developed, and this layer divides on continuously because it is meristematic. Meristematic cells have the ability to divide. So this layer divides continuously and forms a large or thick bark, which is also called as cambium. So in the last video lecture, we saw that how this bark or cork is formed. Okay, it is formed or it is developed as an action of continuous division in your secondary meristematic tissues. Now this cork, the cells of cork, the cells are dead. Okay, then these are very tightly packed together or very tightly glued together. You can say the cells are tightly glued together. That is, they are having much more forces of attraction, and a plant cement which you can say which glues them together is called, not plant cement was referred as lignin. Here the chemical which glues them together is called suberin. So this suberin is responsible for making these cells of cork very tightly sticked to each other. So please remember the name that suberin is present in the cells of cork or bark, and the function of suberin is, or you can say the function of these cork cells or bark cells. They serve three functions. The first one is they are impermeable, or they prevent loss of water. That is same to the functions of cuticle. So these prevent loss of water from plant parts. Then it also prevents attack of fungus or other pathogens. Pathogens are the disease causing organisms. So it prevents the attack of fungus, or you can say the attack of bacteria to the plant. Okay, and this cork is also responsible for providing mechanical support or strength to your plant. So these cork cells, they provide mechanical strength to the plants. So this is the role or the different functions carried out by your bark cells or cork cells, and the features, structural features are these cells are dead and these are very tightly stick together or glued together, and the pigment which joins them together is known as suberin. So these were some points which regarding your last previous video lecture. Now we'll be doing animal tissues. So this completes your half of the unit, that is plant tissues. We did meristematic tissues, then we did simple permanent and complex permanent tissues, that is xylem and phloem. Why they were called complex permanent? Because they were made up of 4 different kinds of cells in them. That is xylem had tracheids, vessels, parenchyma and fibers. Except xylem, parenchyma, all the others were dead cells. Tracheids and vessels helped xylem to transport water, and the transport of water through xylem is always unidirectional. This is a very important point. Whereas phloem is responsible for the transport of food, and this transport done by phloem is bidirectional or multidirectional. So this all we discussed in our last class also, and this completes up your plant tissues. Now we are starting with the other half of the chapter, that is animal tissues. So what do you mean by animal tissues? Obviously, the tissues which are present in animals are referred as animal tissues, and hence these animal tissues can be divided into 4 categories. So likewise, we made a flow chart of the plant tissues. Similarly, we can have a flow chart of animal tissues. So this is your flow chart of animal tissues. Animal tissues are what? Animal tissues, the tissues found in or present in animals. Such tissues are known as animal tissues. Now next, on the basis of function. See here it is clearly written that on the basis of function, animal tissues are categorized into 4 different groups. The first one is your epithelial tissue, the next is connective tissue, next comes your muscular tissue, and the last category is nervous tissue. So you have 4 different groups of animal tissues based on their function. Remember, these tissues are classified on the basis of their function, while your plant tissues were classified on the basis of their division power or division ability. Now next we'll see that in epithelial tissue, these are actually, they form the outermost covering. Okay, this first one is your epithelial tissue, and epithelial tissue forms outermost covering. We'll see each tissue in detail, then we'll discuss. So this epithelial tissue is divided further into 4 categories. Actually, the last category belongs to the first itself. This last category is a subgroup of your squamous, and you can also call this as simple squamous epithelial tissue. So you have 4 different categories. The first one is your simple squamous, then you have cuboidal epithelial tissue, The next would be your columnar, and fourth one is ciliated. Or this also we can study as a subgroup of columnar, because ciliated means when you have cilia on your columnar tissue, then it is called ciliated columnar tissue. Then you can make one another subgroup, that would be your fifth group of this epithelial tissue, and it is glandular epithelium. Glandular epithelial tissue. So these are the different classes which comes under your epithelial tissue, and epithelial tissue forms the outermost covering of organism, okay, and different organs of these organisms. Next comes this connective tissue. So from the name itself we have an idea that connective tissue has binding purpose, or it helps to link and connect different body parts or different body organs. This connective tissue is further divided into various categories, and this division is made on the basis of matrix. So the basis of classifying this connective tissue into various categories is your based on matrix. We'll deal what do you mean by the term matrix and what are the different kinds of matrix. If I tell you in short, then matrix is the fluid content present inside your tissues, and the matrix can be of various types. It may be in the form of fluid, or you can have jelly-like matrix, or it may be in the form of hard solid substance. So matrix is your fluid content present inside the tissue, and this matrix can be categorized into different parts. And because we have different kinds of matrix with us, then on the basis of matrix we can divide connective tissue into different categories. The first one comes your areolar tissue. Areolar, it means the tissue which has air cavities. Areolar, then comes your adipose tissue. Adipose is generally the fat storing tissue. And question is frequently asked in exam, a short question. Which is the fat storing tissue in body? So you will write adipose tissue, which is a kind of connective tissue, is also called fat storing tissue. Areolar, I already told you that this areolar tissue contains air cavities. Okay, next comes your skeletal tissue. So in skeletal tissue you have two subgroups, that is bones and cartilage. Bones are very rigid. You cannot try to bend a bone. If you try to do so, if you try to bend any bone, then you will break it off. But cartilage is flexible compared to your bone, and it can be bent to a limited extent, okay? Then according to the matrix, that is, if the tissues which have a fluid matrix, then you have two subclasses here. The first one is blood and the other one is lymph. So we'll deal with all these blood, bone, cartilage, everything in detail. Then the next category, that is, we have discussed two categories, epithelial and connective. Now the next type of animal tissue is your muscular tissue. And this muscular tissue, you know, would be made up of muscles. And we have three categories, that is striated, smooth and cardiac. We'll see why they are named so, why it is called striated, smooth and cardiac. This cardiac belongs to your heart muscles, okay? The muscles present in the walls of your heart are called cardiac muscles. This striated muscles, it is called striated because it contains light and dark alternate bands. We'll see them in detail. This is also called as skeletal. Striated is also called skeletal. This smooth muscular animal tissue is also known by a different name, that is, it is called non-striated. We'll see everything in detail. Then you have the last category of your tissues, which is nervous tissue. Okay? And this nervous tissue, it is present in your brain, in spinal cord, and then in different nerves, you can say. So nervous tissue comprises your brain and spinal cord. And this nervous tissue is made up of a small unit, that is the cell, a small unit cell which combine together to form this group of nervous tissue. It is called as neuron. So remember this, then we have to study in detail the structure of this neuron. So this was your classification of animal tissues on the basis of their function. Now we'll deal with each category step by step, and also firstly we'll deal with this epithelial, and while dealing with epithelial we'll see all these structures or all the different categories what we have in our epithelial tissues. So now this is your first kind of epithelial tissue. We are starting with first category of animal tissue, that is your epithelial tissue, and the diagram shown here, this is your simple squamous epithelial tissue. Okay, so this is the first category, that is your simple squamous epithelial tissue. Before going to this category, let us study some features. What do you have in common? That all these tissues are kept in the category of epithelial. So as I told you in the starting of this class, that as in plants we have the outermost covering as epidermis. In the same manner, this epithelial means the outermost covering of animals. So first point would be, this epithelial tissue, it forms the outermost covering of an organism's body. So this would be your first point, that this epithelial tissue forms the outermost covering of organism's body. The next point would be, it also covers or it also forms the outermost covering of different organs found in the body of organism. So it also forms a covering, or you can say a membranous structure. It also forms a covering of various organs and tissues found in organism. So these we are talking about the general features of epithelial tissues, and these would be common to all your epithelial tissues, that is either you talk of simple squamous or you talk of cuboidal, columnar, everything. Then the next is, these epithelial tissue do not have any kind of intercellular spaces between them. And I have already told you in previous video lectures, what do you mean by the term intercellular space? Inter means in between and cellular means between any two cells. So we can say that epithelial tissue lacks the intercellular space. And intercellular space means it does not have any kind of distance or vacant region between two cells. And thereby it forms, we can say that this tissue forms a continuous layer. Because it does not have any kind of intercellular space or breaks in between the regions, then we say that this tissue is in the form of continuous layer. And this you can also see in the diagram provided, that this tissue, the cells are, this is your first cell, this is your next adjacent cells. So you can see there is no space between these two cells, and hence we say that these are present in the form of continuous layers. And because it does not have any space between it, the function of intercellular tissue, if we try to write them down, its function is to provide strength to the organism. Okay, this provides a mechanical support or strength to the organism. Then this prevents the organism from getting external shocks or injuries. So the next function would be, it prevents any kind of external injuries. And one more function would be that because this is present in the form of continuous layer, and you can include that this tissue, it has different permeability on the basis of its different categories. That is, simple squamous is slightly permeable, but talking about columnar or cuboidal epithelial, it is not as permeable as simple squamous. So we can say that epithelial tissue is divided into various types based on their permeability. And because every different epithelial tissue or every group of this tissue shows different permeability, we have such different kinds of epithelial tissue in our body. So its function is, because they have difference in permeability. Permeability means it allows entry of some substances and it allows exit of only certain particular substances. It will not allow all the substances to move in and out of the cell through this epithelial tissue. So we can say that it allows movement of only certain, or you can write only some selected materials. It allows movement of only selected materials through it. Okay, that is, through the epithelial tissue, you can only have the movement of selected particular materials. All the materials cannot pass through this epithelial tissue. And if any material enters inside our body, then at least it has to pass at least a single layer of epithelium. It has to go through the epithelial tissue. Without going into this epithelial tissue, nothing can enter into our body or nothing can be expelled out from your body. So this was a general account of this epithelial tissue. And now we will be writing about simple squamous epithelial tissue. That is our first category. So this was the introduction. What do you mean by epithelial tissue? It forms the outermost covering. Then it is present as the covering of different organs. It is in the form of continuous layer. That is, it does not have any kind of lack, means absent. So intercellular space is absent. And then we have written its functions, and these are divided into different categories based on their permeability. Now let's see what do you have in this simple squamous epithelial tissue. Now talking about the first category of epithelial, that is simple squamous epithelial tissue. So simple squamous epithelial tissue, the first point would be, it is a very fine or a thin tissue. So it is present in form of, we already said that it is present in the form of continuous layer, but you can see it is only one cell thick. So it is present in a form of very thin layer. Okay, it may be 1 to 2 cell thick, none more than this. The next is what? Where this simple epithelium is found or its function. So we say that it is present as a covering of, delicate organs. So this protects your delicate organs present inside your body. It covers them with a single layer and provides protection to them. Then you have that these cells are tightly packed. As you can see in the diagram, there is no kind of intercellular spaces. That means these are tightly packed with each other. And you can see that every epithelial tissue, okay, I am now telling this was your simple squamous epithelial. Then you have that every epithelial tissue which we dealt with these general points of epithelial. One more point you can involve in this. Let me mark it as the 7th point. So this would be that epithelial tissue. Epithelial is the outermost tissue present in animals. Like we'll see that skin is also a kind of epithelial, and it comes in the category of stratified squamous epithelium. Okay, we'll deal with it in the next section. So what we have that this epithelial tissue is present at the outermost side of your body, and then you have different tissues also inside this epithelial tissue. So this epithelial tissue is separated by the other tissues through a fibrous membrane-like structure which is called as basement membrane. So remember, this epithelial tissue which is present at the outer surface of your body, this is your epithelial tissue. You can see these are the cell membrane boundaries of the cell, and these black structures drawn here, the spherical structures, are your nucleus. And this dark structure drawn here is in turn known as basement membrane. And this basement membrane is fibrous in nature. Okay, basement membrane is fibrous in nature, and every time you will have the same arrangement. That is, first you will have the epithelial tissue on the outer surface. Below this you will have this basement membrane always, and below the basement membrane you will have other kinds of tissue in the body of organism. So this is account of simple squamous epithelium. Now let's move on to the next, and this image is your stratified squamous epithelial tissue. In the last, what we discussed? We discussed simple squamous epithelium tissue. And if you know that simple squamous is present in the form of very thin layer, that it only has a one-celled thick layer. You can see that only group of one cells are arranged, okay, here. But if I arrange the layers of these simple squamous one above the other, then what I would get? I would get this kind of arrangement. See here, what do we have? This is your first layer of simple squamous. Then these are the next layer of the simple squamous tissue. Are you getting the point? If you arrange layers of simple squamous epithelium one above the other, like we have done in this, this would be your third layer of cells. This is your fourth layer. So you can see when simple squamous epithelium is arranged in the form of layers one above the other, then you get your stratified squamous epithelium. The word stratified is made from the term strata. And strata in English means layers. So when you arrange simple squamous epithelium, which we discussed earlier, which is a very fine thin tissue, in layers one above the other, then you get a wide tissue which is called stratified. And from the name itself you can remember that stratified comes from the term strata, and strata means arranged in layers. So you can include that this is a thick or wide tissue because this is present in layers. You can also include one more point in this, that here the cells which are present are very thin and flat. You can see that the upper surface of this is quite flat in nature. Similar is the case with this. Here also you have circular cells, but the top layer is flattened. So this is flattened at the apical. Apical means at the top surface the tissue has a flat structure. And we all know that after this tissue you would have a basement membrane. Basement membrane is the fibrous structure, and next you have other kinds of tissue. You may have connective tissue or any other kind of tissue, either muscular or any other. So the example of stratified epithelium which we have is our skin. Because our skin is not a very fine layer, okay? If I rub my skin, it doesn't get ruptured. If it was made from this simple epithelium, then on rubbing, it would get damaged. But we know this is not so. Our skin does not easily get damaged because it is made up of many layers of cells. And so it protects, it helps in the, what is the function? If I tell you the example is skin. This type of stratified epithelium is present in skin. And the function is what? It prevents us from wear and tear. That is, it prevents us from injuries. Okay, so we know that our skin prevents us from injuries. The other function which you can incorporate or include in this would be, it does not allow any foreign material to enter our skin very easily. So it prevents any foreign means external particle. Either it may be any pollutant or it may be any microbe, pathogen, bacteria. It prevents or it does not allow any foreign particle to enter inside our body. So this is the structural features, example and functions of your stratified squamous epithelium. Now we'll see the next category, which is your simple cuboidal epithelium tissue. You can say epithelial tissue or you can say epithelium. Okay. So as you can see from the name or from the diagram, it is made up of cube-like cells. So the first point would be, it is made up of cube-like cells. This would be the first point, as you can see. Then these cube-like cells, where it is present, okay, you have to remember the structural features, that is which kind of cells it has. Then you have to remember the location, where is these present. Like you can say the simple epithelium which we discussed, it is present in the lining of mouth or lining of esophagus. And stratified, I told you, it is present in skin. Then this cuboidal epithelium, it is present in lining of kidney tubules. Okay, and you can write many more other location wherever it is present. Everything is given in your books too. So it is present in kidney tubules. Then what is the function? See here also, if we say that this is a single cuboidal cells, as you can see. Okay, so this cuboidal cell has a nucleus. Then it has the fluid material which is called cytoplasm. Then below here, this gray covering is your basement membrane. And then we will have another kind of tissue. That is, the epithelial tissue is separated from the other tissues through a basement membrane. So you can say basement membrane forms a sandwich structure, okay, like a sandwich. It is present between your epithelial tissue and other tissues. Either you can have connective or any other tissue. So this also tells you a sandwiched model of epithelial tissues. So this was your third, that is cuboidal epithelium. Then next what we have is this image is of columnar epithelial or epithelium. This is your columnar epithelial tissue. So as you can see from the name, why it is called columnar? Because it is made up of column-like cells. Here the word column-like cells means these cells are elongated and pillar-like in structure. So you can see that these cells are quite long. This is one cell. So it is in the form of elongated structure, or you can say a pillar-like structure. This is obviously clear from the name itself, columnar. Then as usual, you have a nucleus, you have cytoplasmic material around the nucleus, then you have your basement membrane, and below this basement membrane, what you will have? You will have any other kind of tissue. So again remember that basement membrane separates epithelial and other kind of tissues. So cells of these are elongated pillar-like. Then you can say that where it is present. Remember the location is very important. So this type of tissue is present in, you can say, small intestine. Okay, or this is also present in your gut, that is abdominal region. It is also present in esophagus, that is your food pipe, and many more you can include in the location, that is wherever this tissue is found in our bodies. Then one more modification is present of this columnar, that is when this columnar epithelium develops hair-like projection on its surface. Let's see in this next diagram. This is also your columnar epithelium. Okay, but because you can see one difference, you have the column-like cells, you have nucleus, you have cytoplasm, then you have this basement membrane. What is the difference between the two diagrams? In this diagram we have an additional structure, that is presence of cilia. So these cilia are what? In turn, because this columnar epithelial contains cilia, it is called ciliated columnar epithelium. Okay, because it is having column-like cells, so it is called columnar. Now it is having cilia on the top of its surface, so it is a suffix is added, a prefix is added, ciliated. So what do you mean by the term cilia? This is our next category, whatever is the number, 4th or 5th, okay? This is our next category or group of epithelial tissue, ciliated columnar epithelium. Cilia are very thin or very fine hair-like projections present or found at the apical surface, that is the top surface. Apical means the top surface of tissues. So cilia are very thin hair-like projection. You can see these are the thin hair-like projections and these are called as cilia. Now asking you, what is the role of this ciliated columnar epithelium? This is also, if we write, this kind of tissue is present, okay? This ciliated columnar epithelium is present in small intestine, okay, and it is also present in esophagus. So if we say, what would be the role of this ciliated columnar epithelium? We know we have only one role of our esophagus, that is transportation of the food into stomach or any other organ from the mouth or buccal cavity. So because in esophagus we need to have the movement of food, and to make the food move down, this contains ciliated epithelium. And the role of ciliated epithelium is that it helps to push the food below, okay? The cilia, the hair-like projections move and they push the food downwards. Then you have cilia in nasal passage and respiratory tracts also, and it also helps to move the mucus downwards. So this is the role of cilia. This cilia helps in easy movement or easy passage of mucus, because these cilia, the hair-like projections, move randomly, simultaneously, and they push the mucus down. So this is the function or role of cilia. So this we complete our epithelial tissues. We saw all the kinds of epithelial tissues. What you have to learn in them, you should know how they look, then why they are named so, why these are called ciliated, why these are called columnar, that is their structure. And then you should remember their functions and their location, that is this, each kind of epithelial tissue is present in which part of our body. So this completes epithelial tissue. Now let's start the next one, that is connective tissue. So first we'll deal You can again see the flow chart which we dealt with in the introduction. What do you mean by connective tissue? So we can say that it helps, that is, this connective tissue helps in connecting or linking different body parts. This we can easily remember from the name itself. That is, the connective tissue helps in linking the different parts of our body. And now I told you that on the basis of the matrix which is found in connective tissue, it can be divided into various subcategories or into various groups. It can be divided into various other groups. And what do you mean by the term matrix? Matrix is the fluid content present inside these connective tissue. It is the fluid content in which the cells of connective tissues are embedded. Or you can say the cells of connective tissues, they are very loosely bound to each other. They have some amount of intercellular space. Okay? In short, you can write that the cells of connective tissue are loosely bound with each other. Loosely bound means they have intercellular space in between the cells. They possess intercellular spaces. And because they have intercellular spaces, we can say that the cells of connective tissue float or are embedded in matrix. So this was a general account of connective tissue. Connective tissue helps in linking different body parts. This connective tissue, on the basis of type of matrix present, it can be divided into different subcategories which we saw in the flow chart. Then matrix is the fluid content, or you can say the content present inside these cells. And these connective tissue cells are embedded inside this matrix. These cells also are loosely bound, that is, they have the presence of intercellular spaces in between them. And then I told you earlier also that matrix is of various parts, like you can have a fluid matrix or you can have a solid matrix. Next you can have certainly viscous, that is a jelly-like matrix. So now we'll see the different parts, that is which kind of matrix is present in these different connective tissues. So this diagram is of blood. This is your first connective tissue, that is blood. And as you all know that blood is a fluid connective tissue. Why this is called fluid? Because the blood contains a fluid matrix. The word fluid here refers to the type of matrix present in blood. Okay? So now we'll be starting these connective tissue, we'll be studying in our next class. For this class, we have completed all the categories of epithelial tissues, and I have given you the introduction about connective tissues. And next, in the next class, we'll be starting with the blood, that is your first connective tissue. Then we'll see about different, that is adipose connective tissue, areolar, bone, cartilage, ligament, tendons, everything. So this was whole account of the first category of animal tissues, that is your epithelial tissues. I hope you have understood this video lecture. If you have any sort of query, you can ask us anytime. Thank you for joining the class today.